So I'm going to call the regular board meeting of the Santa Ynez Community Service District, Wednesday, May 18th, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. And can we please all stand for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. You may be seated. And Wendy, can you please do roll call?
Director Renfro?
Here.
Director Van Hout?
Here.
Director Jones?
Here.
Director Beer?
Here.
Okay, and at this time, I would like to see if any of the directors have any comments that they would like to make of things that are not on the agenda or part of our committee reports, anything pertaining to our district.
It's nothing.
Okay, I have nothing either. So we can now move on to public comment. And I know that we have at least one, maybe more. So would you like to start? And your name is?
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board and staff. My name is Randy Pace. I live at 2517 Jannon Way. I come before you tonight to request that you allow an application for a lateral tie-in to your wastewater main that runs the south side of 246, about 100 feet from my property line. Proceed. Some background on how I got here tonight. Last August, I applied to the county for a ground mount solar array. Part of that process was to do a septic system certification. The permit was finally issued and granted in January. However, I need to get the wastewater system resolved. The results was that they discovered on the test that they had 3 dry wells with brick tops. I have been informed that they need to be collapsed and filled with rock. The new dry wells installed with a pre-treatment system installed as well. Even though I have a permit for the solar system, I really need to resolve the wastewater issue first so I don't have competing issues where buried lines run. I was given an estimate that to comply with the county regulations, I'll need to spend at least $80,000 and possibly more to put that system in. I believe that it could not cost significantly less to tie into the main, which according to wastewater engineers I've spoken to, that's probably the best permanent solution to tie in the community system rather than just simply install more dry wells that have also the potential to fail in the future as well. I understand the board's desire not to piecemeal wastewater system, but I believe my particular situation is unique. Many of the parcels in Jannon Acres would have significant problems tying into your system, going down the hill, not the least of which, and many of them have their septic systems in the front yards, which I think it's even more difficult for all to go all the way around and back out the backyard again. I don't believe my granting my request would open the door for me more. I also understand the desire to have Jannon Acres community all agree on a comprehensive system, and all I can say is let the solution. 20 plus years and there's still no solution. I certainly won't happen in my lifetime. I've also had conversations with Eileen, I remember her last name, who works for District 5 permit engineer for Caltrans, and she had no objections and sent me all the paperwork I need to fill out to get the encroachment permit to be able to tie in. So I'm asking you tonight is to allow for the environmentally responsible solution and allow my request to tie in to proceed. And I'll be here tonight to answer any further questions you may have, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Pace. I would like to say that before we will be able to act, it's going to have to be put on an agenda, but this information is very helpful. And the fact that you've already spoken with Caltrans and you feel encouraged by that is a good sign to me. So we had a situation where before Caltrans was spoken with, we granted 2 out of district waivers, agreements, contracts, and they were not able to get the Caltrans easement.
Well,
So
I may be able to address one reason why is there's a new permit director, Reluctant Stevens, and she's new to that position. And the prior person, I guess, who had the objections is no longer there.
I also don't think that, I think a few little mistakes were made in contacting Caltrans last time. and they didn't have all the information, and I think that might have affected the decision there. So that's very encouraging to me, and it may end up helping these other two people who got these contracts. Yes, Mike?
Yep. Mr. Pace had engaged with staff here at the district as well, and not with me directly, but what I asked was that since this is an out of area service agreement that we're talking about, what staff would need before we could facilitate and this forward would be just board direction to say, yes, this is the kind of person we need to. So all we can do tonight, it's not on the agenda. Your board can give clear direction to staff that we want to pursue out of service area agreements with people in Jannon Acres when they're applicable. You know, there are some people in Jannon who are going to be able to flow gravity to us. And we did have two come up before. There's a key element that Wendy has made me aware of, and that is that the county will want to deem that septic tank failed. Now, I don't know how you get a failed septic tank and then can still live in a house, but I'll let, there will be a long and arduous.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so it sounds like that can happen all the time. So really tonight, this, if and I'll shut it, and you'll tell me and you'll give me direction. And then the direction would be that staff would engage with this person who lives outside our sphere of influence and our services boundary. Staff can engage, get the proper paperwork in order, and bring that back to your board for an approval, because the process, I believe, would be first your board would have to show that you're in agreement, you're going to welcome this person, and then it would go to LAFCO, and then LAFCO would have to agree to an out of area service agreement, which they did as well. This was 2 years ago.
Would we need to engage Solvang because that's their sphere of influence?
That will happen through the LAFCO process. Jannon Acres is within the sphere of influence for Solvang. So that's all part of that LAFCO process, and assumably then when LAFCO notices that, hey, San Ynez is going to engage with somebody that's in your services, you know, the understanding that they didn't object last time, I don't believe. Solvang didn't.
But they have total different staff now.
Yeah.
Everything changes.
Do we have documentation, Director Jones, on why Caltrans denied? I know it's been mentioned a few times that two different property owners want to tie in.
Yes, it's in our meeting minutes from, and I think that was like 2 years
There's
ago.
probably emails,
Okay.
but it has to do with, on the Caltrans permits, they have like specifications per mile per hour speed limit.
Okay.
And there was a question of the posted limit and the Caltrans limit is actually different. And the requirements that Caltrans was gonna make the property owner go by was very extensive, and it was very a lot of time to spend and a lot of money to be spent, and they couldn't do it.
So yeah, Mr. Pace, so one person changes, right? And all of a sudden it can be green lighted by one person's.
Well, she sent me all the forms. She said there's standard procedures. She's totally familiar with where your wastewater line is. She knows where I'm talking about. She knows the speed limit issues. And she says, yes, send me the forms. Here's one that you can use as a standard to use for traffic control in that area. And
No, I think it's wonderful news. It's just nice to hear.
Sounds too good to be true.
Yeah, and I hope it is that way. That's why I asked.
Yeah, honestly, to the board, I think as far as the encroachment permit issues and right-of-way issues are things that I'm fairly confident as well. If the board's behind this, the policy issue that comes before your board is Jannon Acres, and what your perspective is on Jannon Acres, and whether that's in your view. Those back to these LAFCO issues and service boundary issues, and boy, we see ourselves serving Jannon in 20 years. And so if that's the case, then certainly as folks septic tanks fail, to bring them into the fold, that can get us moving in that direction. Then you gotta start looking at your capacity and your lines and say, okay, do we have capacity to serve all Jannon Acres and the people that we've got standing by to serve? Those types of things are the issues that we're going to want to discuss in an item when it's agendized.
Mhm.
But as far as the nuts and bolts of getting yeah, I would have to agree that the fact that you gotta understand when you go into encroachment on a highway, you've all been on 101 where there's construction going on and all the signage and all the work that goes into that's the encroachment permit. And that can become cost prohibitive very quickly. Already the project, and the gentleman is driven here by cost, because he looked at what the septic tank cost to replace, and all of a sudden it's ground mounted solar arrays out, this thing's driving it. Well, connection to the district sewer is not without a significant cost that will come with it as well. But if what you're telling me is welcome his application, spend the staff time and process it forward, then we'll do that and we'll bring it back to your board for future discussion.
Didn't we last time set a fee where there was no cost to the district to research this?
Well, the way I understood it is the fees paid by the applicant covered the cost to our agency.
Yes, and then, yes, they did pay a deposit to cover the staff time.
I have a question. Where exactly on 246 is the wastewater line? Is it in the middle of the road, on the bank, off to the side, just under easements?
It's off the side.
Yeah, it's on your side.
Well, I know it's on my side of the highway, but is it way into the highway? Is it-
Look for big round circles like
Okay,
this.
I'll do that.
Yeah,
Telltale signs.
It's on the side of the road.
They line right up,
it's in the dirt.
but the traffic.
Mike, would we have to engage Solving before we agendize it? Is it something that we could engage, or do we have to agendize it, speak about it, and then reach out to Solving?
You have to.
Okay.
Right now, the direction is to allow for an application and spend staff time on it. We'll bring it back to your board, but generally, when you engage with any new construction, even if a vacant lot or somebody was going to within your services boundary, connect to the district, you take a deposit that theoretically covers. So if we've got to go to the district engineer to say, review these plans, do this, do that, the district engineer bills us, the bill goes against the deposit. When you'll stop me when I get this wrong, but that's generally how you shield current customers from having to carry the burden of hooking on new customers within our services area.
Yeah.
When you start stepping outside of there are other things that we'll
Yeah,
discuss
Understood.
with your board when this comes back.
We need to put it on the agenda.
Absolutely.
So
And I think there's
I think
broad
it's against-
consensus that we would like staff
accept
to
your
move forward
application.
with helping you, yes.
Engage.
Yeah.
I appreciate that greatly.
Okay.
It's been a long process. It started this last August. So, and the wastewater is still working, so, but in the meantime, I'm being told that I have to replace all this
That is not a long time.
Yeah.
stuff. Seems forever.
Yeah.
But
There you go.
it's really interesting too, because we're in
How
a
long?
special studies zone.
Yeah.
Because of nitrate
40 years?
levels in our wells that are, for me, almost a mile away. And so it's like, okay, and my water probably goes down towards 246, doesn't go towards the wells, which necessitates putting in, the biggest part of this is a $55,000 pre-treatment system that aerates the heck out of it. So it's like, okay, wonderful.
I could be facing that same thing.
No, not fun. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Pace.
What's your phone number?
805 403 6162.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there other public comments regarding items that are not agendized? I am not seeing any. And I see nothing online. So let us go ahead and move on to item 5, reports. And let's hear our report from our general manager, Mr. LeBrun.
Yeah, a couple of quick items. We do have that notice out for accepting applications for director. We do have one completed application with a resume and one letter of interest, which we welcome that as well. We've got that in the packet. We'll forward to your board. That person, although we haven't followed up with that person, we don't have an address on that letter of interest. The person, in order to make sure the person meets the criteria. And, but that's what we have in hand. And we also have one person who stopped by and picked up an application, but has not returned it. We're open till June 2nd on these applications. And just want you to know on the website, there is an application form, but it's not an employment application form. It's basic. Who are you? How do we get a hold of you? Why are you interested in us? If you want to provide some background, please do. And like I said, we've got one application that's quite thorough on that and provided a resume and looks good. The other is had some interesting back and forth with Mr. Acosta at Solvang now, and he just shared with me a recent agenda item for their board as they're discussing their next phases and choosing phases and options for the remaining work at the wastewater treatment plant. And kind of interfaced on that a bit and included Mr. Battles, who is off sailing, and we're missing him tonight. He's not online or here, he's absent. But I think we need to sit down with the city of Solvang sooner than later, probably much sooner than later, and make sure that the wastewater treatment plant upgrade, the district is, of course, 20% owner of that plant, and we're interested in doing things that must be done in order to meet the treatment requirements of the plant. But when we start talking about water production out of the plant, that is not something that we're necessarily interested in spending money on, because I don't know that the district has any interest beyond we get our waste treated there. But as far as the water supply side of things, whether we owe 20% on those things or not, I don't know. That is probably a point that's up for debate. And I'll be talking with Rick on that when he gets back, and I think and Jose, Mr. Costa indicated as well. Yeah, we should probably have conversations along those lines soon.
And Director Redfern and Director Van Pelt are both on the wastewater committee,
Okay.
so maybe we can get our committee together and
Yeah, let's get Rick and I'm gonna get familiar with the contract. Yeah, speaking of committees, we did give a list of here and because my head was spinning, we did a number of new ad hoc committees. So I asked Wendy to type this up. So if you see any errors on this, make sure we know that as we come out of the meeting. But those are committee assignments. The last thing, and I said I'd be brief, and I apologize. Last thing I want to note, and it's committee related as well, is we did hear from LAFCO as well. We had submitted our responses to the MSR, the Municipal Service Review Update Questionnaire. And so we did hear back from LAFCO, and this is Mr. Prater again. And he writes, he had a couple questions that staff's following up on to make clarifications on. And then does talk about that he's going to be putting together study areas and look for our participation for potential study areas, further discussion, including Ballard, Los Olivos, Janet Acres, and West Santa Ynez. And so I'm going to share a copy. Give you all the email. I was going to get that up when I got it. But we got this last week. And so again, just a heads up so everyone knows that this LAFCO process continues as we knew it would. I've got some extra copies up here. But and then he's got a little graph in there. That's a mock-up graph, and I'm not certain what he hopes to get out of that. But of course, staff will interface with LAFCO and give them whatever information that they'd like. But I think overall we did good with our response to the questionnaire, and that's all I have. Happy to answer any questions.
okay. Well, our legal counsel is not here this evening, so we won't get a report from Mr. Battle. So we will move on to our Secretary Treasurer, Ms. Mary.
All I have is, we're going to start the audit in June 8th. So we just finished it and we're back out again. And that's it.
Okay, and then the committees that have met.
Yeah, I can report back.
Okay,
Director Redfern and myself met, spoke at length about some of the lake powers that we, as a district, should potentially look at. And I think we should put it on the agenda and formalize it. I do think we, as a board, have stated several times, past meetings, that we do want a voice in some of the concerns of our sphere of influence and district. And really, I think there's a few buckets. Correct me if I'm wrong, Director Redfern. We're looking at 3 buckets. One of them is kind of the beautification and curb appeal of Greater San Ynez, areas we think that are important for us to, again, have a say and control. These are just not only for the residents, but tourists that come in. It's kind of nice to look sharp and to kind of take ownership of our community, right, and in the way it looks. Another would be land management and use. There's a lot of ways the district can get involved in forming committees about land use and management. And then there's also infrastructure. There are ways that we can look at acquiring more parks, more land for habitat mitigation, et cetera. So again, there's going to be 3 buckets. I think Frank and I looked at: beautification, curb appeal, land management, use, and infrastructure. So, but that was just, that's just kind of a high level kind of rundown, and I think we should put it on the agenda officially so that we can get the opinions of the board and also some of the constituents in our area on what they would like the community service district to grow into. It's really important for us.
That sounds like a really good first meeting.
Yeah.
And when did you meet?
We meet yesterday. I mean,
Because that's another thing that I'm not really good at doing all the time. But when you meet, if you shoot Wendy an email on the
Yeah.
ad hoc, then she can make note of it. Just-
yeah, it was the last week. I've been very busy. We've been trying to meet, and we fit it in our schedule. So my apologies. That was my first ad hoc committee meeting, so I wasn't sure of the exact steps. And in the future too, I could always provide any written detail if we need to provide that as well.
I just can't pay you if I don't know about when you meet.
No, you don't have to pay me.
Have to.
You can-
Have to.
We have to put that on the
You can
agenda. if
give
don't
me
want to
his
get paid.
But we also like to document.
And so staff taking direction to agendize a discussion on latent powers.
Yes. Very good. Okay, any other committees that met? I can tell you Frank and I have met a couple of times on our, the negotiations. Oh, no, not negotiations, excuse me. The GM recruitment, excuse
We
me.
met for the GM recruitment.
Yes, and then Frank and I, what is ours? It's
Yeah.
got us down as at-large elections, but we also have the bargaining,
Well,
collective
that's
bargaining.
negotiations.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
negotiation.
Oh, okay, okay. Yes,
So
we've met a
do you
couple
know the
times.
dates, or you want to shoot me an email? or-
I'll shoot you an email. I need to look at my email.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
It'll be the same.
Okay, and anything else on committees? Okay, then let's go ahead and move on to the consent items, which includes approval of regular meeting minutes of April 20th, 2022, special meeting minutes of April 28th, 2022, and approval of the disbursements from April 16th through May 13th. Those were all included in our packet. We've had a chance to review them, but feel free to ask for any changes or clarification.
I make a motion to approve it. I think everybody else is.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, Director Beard made the motion to approve the consent items, and Director Van Pelt seconded it.
All right, we have a motion by Director Beard and a second by Director Van Pelt to approve the consent agenda as presented. We'll do a roll call vote. Director Redfern.
Aye.
Director Van Pelt.
Aye.
Director Jones.
Aye.
Director Beard.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, well, now we can move on to our action items, and the first one is a public hearing on the installment payment plan. Election to have installments collected on the tax roll. This is something we've been doing for a number of years. And so before we consider that, I would like to open it to public hearing.
We have to open the public hearing at 5:55.
Any comments? I don't see anything on the screen here. Right, so we can go ahead then and close the public hearing.
5:56.
Okay. And before we take action, is there any board discussion on this?
No, this is where we just do it on the tax roll like we've done prior.
Right, I know that as a new board member, I didn't like it being collected on the tax roll. I really like getting my monthly bill. And I have spoken with other people about that. And I just wanted to clarify with Ms. Berry, what is the cost savings to us by doing it on the tax? Like if anybody should want to return to going to the monthly sewer bill, what would be the impact to our district?
There would have to be a hiring of at least one person, if not 1.5 people, to handle the billing and receiving the customer payments. And doing the non-payment notices and trying to collect it, and then eventually for no collection, it goes back on the tax roll.
And then, no, I was just saying that from your previous experience, that's obviously labor intensive and,
Yes.
and not only that, I think from a financial standpoint, it should really affect the district, right? Because we have, in essence, we have guaranteed the tax rolls, we're guaranteed income, we can plan with that income a lot easier for planning purposes.
Mhm.
So I know we've had one constituent that voiced a strong concern and disapproval, but in the experience of the board and you, Wendy, how many constituents have come forward and strongly opposed having this on the tax roll?
They haven't opposed having it on the tax roll, but they come opposed the rate increases.
Yeah.
But in 9 years that I've been here, nobody's
Okay.
opposed that I know of.
Okay, that's,
I did all my bad mouthing, not to the office, but when we switched, I was just like, I like seeing what I'm being charged. I like seeing it going up. And but then as I learned a little bit more about it, in theory, I like the idea of seeing what my charge is every month. But in reality, it makes a lot more sense for the district to collect it
Good
that way.
financial sense.
Yeah, I mean, what if somebody doesn't pay their bill, doesn't respond to the late payment? We shut it off, you know, the whole pink envelope thing. That's the concern.
When I worked for the district, it was paid monthly, and we didn't have 4 people in the office. We had an administrator and a secretary. It took the secretary 3 days to do the billing, which is a great time, use of time just to do the billing every month. They'd have to go over to the water department, get how much water was used, and they based it off of that. But we didn't have somebody at the door to take in payments. We didn't have any extra personnel. They were able to do it with the staff. 1 administrator, 1 secretary. But it did take 3 days. But I do think that people should know what they're paying. It shouldn't be a surprise once a year. Whether it's a bill or not, maybe we do want to send out something saying, you know, your water consumption.
can we send notification then? Was it quarterly, monthly notifications of the charges that will be on? Is that what you're recommending, Director?
That's what I'm recommending.
Well, since we already are doing regular outreach, that could be a topic for our next or a future, near future newsletter, something about this is how you pay your bill. It's on your tax bill. What this number breaks down to monthly is this, and just give people more information.
Could we put it in on our newsletter? Is it something we should look at?
I say do it on the newsletter. I just can't justify spending the money and the staff time doing a bill when we can get it when we can do it through the tax bill. I mean, most people don't even care unless they're writing the check. That's when they look at it once a year.
Well, Frank and I
I
actually
look
pay
at
those
mine and
bills,
see what's on mine and I know what it's for. So.
but you're not getting your sewer
I'm
on it.
not getting my sewer because I'm not on sewer, but I look at my tax bill and say, okay, what was this for? What was this for? What was that for? But I don't think the staff has the time to do this.
I think we're in agreement, but I think what we're saying, and not a special notification,
Right.
but when we're thinking
when we
of
do
things we
our-
want to include on our
When we
newsletter.
do our newsletter, we
Yeah.
should put a notice on there. This is how you're going to see it on your tax bill and this is what it means.
Yeah, this is how your money is
Yeah, I
being
like
spent.
that. I think
Yeah.
Why we do it this way.
Yeah,
that's why we
I
do
like
this
it.
way.
right.
Staff has clear direction on that.
Okay.
Okay,
I
So
think we
do we
went
need to
out of
vote on
order.
this?
What's that?
Do we need to vote on this?
Well, yeah, so we're on action items, and I think we're on 7B.
No, we're on
A,
7A, you have to adopt resolution 22-10, which approves the installment payment plan.
I'll make that motion.
okay, and Director Beard has made a motion to adopt resolution 2210. Is there a second?
Bradley.
Okay,
Van Pelt.
Wait,
Direct-
sorry.
We need,
Sorry, yeah.
the motion was made by Director Beard, the second was made by Director Van Pelt and Ms. Berry.
So we have a motion by Director Beard and a second by Director Van Pelt to adopt resolution 22-10, resolution of the Board of Directors of the San Ynez Community Services District approving the installment payment plan for 3125 Horizon Drive. We'll do a roll call vote. Director Redfern?
We're approving what now?
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
Oh.
I was doing the resolution for the tax hearing. I thought,
Oh,
yeah,
no, that hearing is next. week.
next. Okay, well, we've
Yes.
covered the discussion on that. So on the public hearing, then let me go back and ask the public if they have any comments about installment payments on the tax roll for, of a lien to secure payment for 3125 Horizon Drive. Does anyone have a public comment on that? I see no public comments, so we can go out of public, or,
Check. We can-
yeah, we can close the public comments. Yes, nobody raising their hand. Okay, so, and we've received the staff report.
Mhm. Yeah, so just for the record, the total capacity fees are $68,199, $68,199.76. It's for a 20-year period and the interest rate is 4.5%.
Okay. So, anyone
So
want
this
to?
is approving this, for this one lot to do the installment payment plan.
Yes.
We
Right.
Yeah.
approve that.
This
for-
is-
I'll make that motion.
This is the final approval.
Yeah.
Okay, so Director Beard has made, and Director Redfern has seconded it.
Okay, wait, so Director Beard and Redfern? Okay, so we have a motion by Director Beard and a second by Director Redfern to adopt resolution 22-10, approving the installment payment plan for 33125 Horizon Drive. We'll do a roll call vote. Director Redfern?
Aye.
Director Beard?
Aye.
Director Campbell?
Aye.
Director Jones?
Hi.
Motion passes.
Okay, now we will move to resolution 2211, action item 7B. And once again, let's open for public comment at 6:04. Still seeing no public comment, so we shall close the public comment. And I think we've had our discussion about it.
So this is the first resolution in the resolution process. To elect to have the sewer fees and charges collected on the tax roll for fiscal year 22-23, and to direct staff to prepare and file a report fixing the time and place for the hearing and providing the notice thereof.
I already made a motion to.
Okay, you want to stick with that?
And Director Van Pelt
I'm gonna second
seconded.
that, yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion by Director Beard and a second by Director Van Pelt to approve resolution 22-11. Resolution of the Board of Directors of the San Ynez Community Services District electing to have sewer fees and charges collected on the tax roll for fiscal year 22-23, directing the preparation and filing the report, fixing the time and place for public hearing and providing the notice thereof. We'll do a roll call vote. Director Redfern,
Nay.
Director Nay, Director Van Pelt,
Aye.
Director Jones,
Hi,
Director Beard.
Aye.
Motion passes.
okay, now we're gonna go to D, which is a review and discussion of draft budget for fiscal year 2022 and
You got
2023.
C. We're on C.
We're on.
Oh, gosh, I'm just running one ahead, huh? Oh, this is for the Zoom meetings, okay.
Right.
Adoption, resolution 2209, authorizing remote teleconference meetings of the district's legislative bodies pursuant to Government Code 54953E. So we shall receive the staff report.
All right, so this is the monthly resolution to approve authorizing remote teleconference meetings. And it will be good from tonight until June 15th, which is, we're within the 30-day period, so we don't have to have a special meeting. So,
Okay, are there any public comments regarding this item? I see none. Any additional discussion? Then I would call for a motion to adopt resolution 2209.
Do we need to do this anymore? Do we
Yeah.
really need to do it?
Rick said that we do.
No, what I'm
Oh.
saying is, do we really need to do teleconferencing? If you're gonna you can still teleconference in to it, like, let's say Bradley went back to Germany.
Mhm.
You can still teleconference in, all he has to do is post a notice on his hotel room door.
and we have to post the location on the agenda.
You have to post the location on the agenda. So that's the only thing.
But
I-
that stops the public from being able to do it most likely. They won't know that.
I think that we're getting there, but for right now,
COVID right now is on the rise.
Yeah, I
Yes.
was gonna say that, and I'm noticing there's a lot of anxiety I'm seeing, and so I think continue as such has benefited everyone greatly in this board as well, so I'm in favor of moving forward the resolution and voting on it.
okay,
I'll second it.
so Director
Is that
Van
an official
Pelt,
motion?
Official motion, yes, for 2209.
and then the second was,
Second.
but I hear you.
Okay, so we have a motion by Director Van Pelt and a second by Director Redfern to adopt resolution 22-09, authorizing remote teleconference meetings of the district's legislative bodies pursuant to Government Code Section 54953. We'll do a roll call vote. Director Redfern,
Aye.
Director Van Pelt,
Aye.
Director Jones,
Hi,
Director Beard,
Aye.
motion passes.
thank you. And now we will move to the review and discussion of the draft budget for fiscal year 2022, 2023. So I will receive the staff report, I assume from Ms. Berry.
Yes, okay, so before you is the draft budget for fiscal year 22-23. The Finance Committee reviewed the draft budget and the 10-year capital improvement plan, which is our capital project listing, on March 29th and directed no changes. The budgeted sewer fees will reflect a 4.25 increase for the fiscal year 22-23 based on the rate study that was adopted by the board. The sewer fees are going up to 79.93 a month for single-family dwellings. The district remains financially stable with the ability to fund small projects without financing and plan for future projects by keeping the sewer rates in sync with the increasing costs of services. The district can be plan better and avoid large rate increases. A couple of the factors that are unknown is how much staff time the district staff spends at the wastewater treatment plant, because we get reimbursed 100% for their time spent over there. And as of March 22, the average time spent at the plant was 15%, which was a significant decrease from the prior years due to having a new plant operator and not requiring as much time over there. And then what the wastewater treatment plant upgrade for solving their costs are going to be. They are, that will be on the budget, on their budget, and their board meeting, so we need to pay attention to that, and along with the Title 22 possible costs. So the revenue is projected at 53.84% with expenses at 46.16%. The total revenue for 22-23 is projected at 1,892,949 with an overall increase of 2%. The increase in revenue stems from the sewer increase, property tax revenue increase, increase in reservation operations, and a decrease in interest revenue with a decrease in time spent at the wastewater treatment plant, and a decrease in the residents connecting to the district sewer system, because this year we had quite a few connections with ADUs and the Golden Inn and Horizon Drive. The total expenses projected in the budget is $1,622,150 for an increase in 8.6%. The increase stems from the general manager's salary and staff working less at the wastewater treatment plant, because when our staff works less, then that means that our salaries increase here, because the wastewater treatment, the tribe is not reimbursing us for our time spent at the plant. So on page 2 at the bottom, you see the draft budget summary. The total operating budget is $1,623,150. 17.47% is administration, which is $283,600. Building is $14,200. Operations is 56.23% of the budget. It's $912,750. The wastewater treatment plant is projected at $358,400, which is 22%, and the reservation is $52,000 with street lights at $2,200, and the building, the tribe, and the street lights total of 4.21% of the operating budget. Sewer revenue is estimated at $1,258,000, which is 67% of the total estimated revenue that we should receive for 22-23. The non-operating revenue is approximately $200,000 or 95% of, the property tax is $200,000 or 95% of the non-operating income. Total interest revenue is estimated at $11,225 based on the actual of this year of 10,287. Interest rates are slowly increasing, and we can get CDs, which will come before the board in the June meeting, 1.9% for 12 months and 2.2 for 18-month CDs. So we'll bring that before the board for approval to move some money over to the CDs. And the projected non-operating revenue is $211,225. The contract agencies, which is the Chumash wastewater treatment plant and the reservation tribe, the revenue will be $358,400, and the tribe will be $52,000. The estimated revenue for the wastewater and tribe are based on actual expenses from the previous year, so there can be a significant increase based on the expenses that we actually spend over there. So the projected revenue for 22-23 for the contract agencies is $410,400. This is a 4.6 decrease from 21-22 budget. Personnel costs, current staff level is six full-time employees remain in the budget. There's no change to the current benefits for the employees. A 5% increase in salaries is included as projection for budgeting purposes. Operation expenses, there are a few increases within the operating budget. Salaries, district staff is spending less time at the Chumash wastewater treatment plant and more time at the district facilities and hiring a new general manager at an increased salary. Utilities increase in actual utility costs for gas and electric. Computer operations, we have an increase from the new accounting software, annual maintenance. Professional fees, increased, to cover the voting by district, consultant that we'll be hiring, for the demography. And printing and publication has increased for, doing public outreach for the vote by district and, general outreach. General and administrative, page 3, number 3, projected to increase 8% from salaries for new general manager and computer operations for software maintenance. The district owes $1.3 million for Horizon Driveline, so we'll have that annual payment, and we needed, for the rate study, we need 4 connections to make that payment, and we have received 5. And finally, the transfer to reserves will be estimated at $269,799 from the revenue over expense.
Can I ask a question? You said to make that bill payment, you needed 4 connections. We have 5,
Yes.
which is a good sign. Do we, it might not be the time to ask, but and tell me so, how many more hookups do we have planned in the coming months or interest?
We don't have any plan.
Okay, so it could be very quickly here where we're not hooking up at the rate, maybe.
Well, we have 4 for this, for the first year of the payment, and
Okay.
then next year is projected at 4 as well, and then I think it drops down to 2 and 2.
Okay.
Don't we have 2 on Lincoln right now?
What?
Don't we have 2 homes on Lincoln that they're
This is
grading,
just
they're grading?
That's just Horizon.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, but I also think that we are meeting our expectation or exceeding it for the
Yes.
first year.
Yes. we
So I think
exceeded
it's good
it, yeah.
news.
And we had, when we did the public outreach to ask what the potential is for connections on Horizon, 6 people came back and said that we want it and we need it, and we've gotten 5 of those.
Yeah, okay. And that's my recollection. I just wanted to update it. And from the loan perspective, when did payments, when was the first payment due?
The first payment is due in July.
First payment, and are these
And it's
monthly or?
annual.
It's annual, okay, it's in July, so July, okay. That's gonna be every July moving forward on you said 20-year loan?
Yes.
Okay, first payments.
I think
Yeah,
that's
pretty much.
3%.
I also had a question. The 4.5 interest rate, how long do we expect that to be, the interest rate?
It all based on,
Depends on the current interest rate as they're raised,
Yeah.
as they're, the interest rates are going up right
Yeah.
now, so it could,
Yeah, I get
every
that.
time it
it
has to
was
be reviewed.
3.25% for like 18 months, and then when we had the one property owner, we approved their installment payment plan. In fact, actually, it was 31.25. So in April, when we brought them installment payment plan agreement, on the 15th, I looked at the prime, it was 3%, and on the 18th, it raised to 3.25%, so that increased theirs to 4.25%. And I looked, we had another resident, they wanted to do the installment payment plan, and it was at 3.5%.
And do we have a ceiling on how high it can go for us?
We're locked in.
No, the loan payment for our debt
Is
is
locked.
locked at 3%, and the installment payment plan is 1% over prime.
Okay, okay. I was trying to remember what the terms were as far as the people requesting it. So 1% over prime. Okay,
And the people that were going to do the installment payment plan, they just came in and paid because they got funding somewhere else.
I have a question. The capital projects here,
Mhm.
is this something that we're gonna talk about, or is this something that's a wish list, or?
This is
We haven't
basically
got
a
to it
wish
yet.
list. Everything that would be on there would have to be approved by the board.
Okay,
That's an ongoing wish list. That's
Yeah.
it for us to project that what we would need.
Yeah, not approving any purchase of a vehicle or anything at this point.
Right.
That would all come back.
Yeah, this is just review and discussion, right?
Right.
This draft.
Yeah.
proposal.
Right, and approval of budget.
This isn't approved, that is not approving of them to go
I'm
ahead.
just looking
Yeah.
at $620,000 ticket here.
Yeah, anything that would be spent out of that money would have to be approved by the board prior. But that's a projected of what we might need in the future.
It's a planning tool.
Yeah.
Okay, Wendy. Did you have more before we started asking questions?
No, unless you guys.
I do have one other question. It's not exactly related, but this graph, what are these numbers on the side representing?
They're not, it's a mock-up that he's saying he's going to develop a graph like this, and he's going to be looking, yeah, what's he say? I'm putting together a chart, see below. I will want assistance filling this in each year, if known, for the total 15.2 mile system. So that's really all we know right now. And I'm not sure why LAFCO thinks they want to do a graph like that of our, but that, we'll find out some more. But I looked at that graph, I said, what's he got on the, you know, it's not labeled as you go on the y-axis, so. On that one, we said, okay. We answered his other questions, and then his final statement about pulling together. I thought that's maybe where you would see more interest, that pulling together those discussion groups. That would come.
Are there any public comments on our budget? Yes, Miss Ivy.
Yeah, I want to clarify some things on this budget. I've been going over it, and maybe I just don't understand, but I do know that in my investigation and following through that this whole union deal, that the reason these negotiations has gone on and on for a year, and we've continued to pay legal expense during this. I calculated it out myself. The legal expenses that's listed here is something like $41,696 for 21-22, and I calculated out the hours in every board meeting that there was legal or discussion at it, and I calculated out that about getting their hourly rate and how many hours that we've already spent somewhere north of $25,000 on legal expense just for these negotiations. So then I go down and I understand from what was in a public comment here that it was about this health insurance allowance, and that's what was holding everything up. So we have, you know, $72,650 here for 2021, which was $12,108.33 per employee, and I understand we have 6 employees. So then in 21-22, it was $68,477, so it was less. So I'm assuming that's because maybe you didn't have a general manager or something. But irregardless of that, I was trying to calculate this out to just see what was dragging our feet about, could we afford this? Because this was approved by the board in 2005 to give these employees the benefit. So it was approved by the board to give them this benefit, and it's been going on for all this time. So I thought, well, maybe we can't afford it. Why would we now want to take away this benefit? So I go over and I've got a revenue here projected for 21-22 of $2,411.71. And our expenditures, our total expenditures for that same period of 21-22 is $1,547,377. That gives me an $863,694 as a gross profit before taxes. So that tells me that you certainly can't afford it. So my question is, in these negotiations to the new general manager, you would have to offer him or her some kind of health benefits. So if you're going to offer that, or that's going to be a part of their compensation, then in all fairness, it should be offered to all 6 employees, just like it's always been. it shouldn't be singled out. I don't know what your negotiations are, but I also went through this and I understand that we get reimbursed, or you get reimbursed for, the tribe and for this WWF, whatever it is, WWTP.
The
So
wastewater
I went
treatment
through
plant.
and I added up all of the revenue for them. And I came up with 352,765 of money that we got in. Then I went over here and I added up all of the expenditures, and I came up that we paid out 358,659. There's a difference of $5,894 that we weren't reimbursed for. And maybe it's just because I didn't pick up something over here under the revenue, because I truly was having a hard time trying to understand something that's supposed to be published publicly for us to follow. But anyway, we have that much money coming in. And also, let me go over here on, what was it? Oh, that's like, you receive like $29,397 a month of reimbursements from them if we're totally reimbursed. So am I missing something in this budget? What am I missing? Can you tell me what I'm missing here? Should it not balance to what we spend, we took in? I also saw that there was nothing in this budget for revenue for rental. However, I do know that this place is used, the San Ynez Commerce rented out or used this boardroom for a meeting. So, and I've got a polling thing that says I'm supposed to come here to vote in this room. So do we not collect rent for this room when we have meetings in here, or they use it for polling places?
We do. For 21-22, the actual for the boardroom rental is 160, and I actually have an invoice that I have to do for the water district and the groundwater management, GSA.
I'm sorry,
So,
where it says boardroom rental here,
yeah, so
do we rent it out?
yes. So if you look, it's the third line up from the bottom on the page 1 of 2, board revenue, or revenue budget report.
It's a very minor amount of revenue to the district.
So this is 160, so this is the actual.
$160? Okay, so have you, there's nothing projected for the,
Well, this is the current budget, and I didn't have any money listed in the current budget for 21-22.
oh, well, that's what I was saying, there was nothing.
Yeah, so this is the actual budget, and this is the actual
So
cost.
but this 21-22 here,
That is actual,
okay,
so that's what we've actually received.
okay.
And
So,
then this
okay.
is what I'm projecting that we're gonna get for 22-23.
Okay,
So this
so is this a common occurrence that we rent out this room?
common, yes, I guess you'd say.
Questions to the board.
Okay. So I guess what I'm saying is it's on the board, on the meeting tonight for you to approve this draft budget. And in this draft budget, this whole budget includes their salaries, an increase in salaries, and it also includes this health benefit allowance. So if you approve this budget, why can't you get this negotiation with the union over with? I mean, this has just gone on too long.
we're not taking their health benefit from.
Okay,
Yeah, your information may not be right.
okay. Well, that's what I was told, or that's what I heard. So if that's true, then, and you approve this budget, I can leave here tonight assured that all of this is the way this is going to be, that they're going to get their increases, they're going to get their health benefits, and this union thing's going to be over with.
No, this is a draft. This is a draft budget. You use draft sometimes and you go into the budget. This is just a draft.
It's a right.
It's opening discussions so we can review it, right, with the public. So
Okay.
questions can be fielded, right? And so directors can have discussions, right, with management, Mrs. Ivy. And I do want to second the Teamsters. I do think that there is misinformation, right, that has been presented.
Well, that's what was publicly stated here.
Well, just because it was publicly stated doesn't mean that's true. And if anyone that goes to that podium, right, speaks the truth, you should know better, right, that they have a right to say whatever they believe is the truth. It's up to us sometimes to dissect the information and to figure out what is truth and what is false. And we'll say that there is some misinformation.
Well, I'm not I've never went to the podium and lied or said something that I didn't know was true. And the one time that I did.
You
I
came
had
in and
this
apologized.
information, and I came back and apologized.
But I can tell you one thing,
No, I'm sorry.
I can tell you one thing, if they'd come in here and repeated what they said the last time, I'd have put them in their place.
Okay. Well, it's just been so long, you guys. It's time for it to be over.
We understand,
Because
and
it's costing the district money with this legal expense.
we understand that, and we have been to every meeting on time. They've canceled how many meetings?
The items are budget right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
I'm speaking
Well,
so
I
that here.
appreciate you
Yeah.
sharing that with me.
so
Because if you guys clam up and say you can't.
there are
tell
some
them
things that we
everything.
can't talk about in public because
Well, I don't want you to give me all the nitty gritty. At
Right.
least give me something that says that you've got it under control, that you're working on it, that.
we are working on
You
it.
know,
We're working hard on it. And we signed an agreement to do our negotiations confidentially. That was given to us by the union. We agreed to it. They chose to not adhere. They gave us the legal 24-hour notice. But we think that we are going to be able to be a lot more successful and get this done if we just put our heads down and get to work and not try and do inflammatory things or cause rifts between people.
I appreciate that, I really do, but I also, on the other side, where there's the employees, that it's been dragging on so long, because I'm sure when there's union negotiations, I know that they haven't gotten, well, they typically would, I don't know for a fact that they haven't, but typically they don't get any kind of raises or anything. They can't do anything until the negotiations is over with and is resolved, that kind of deal.
Well, that's wrong. The current contract stays in place until the new contract. So nobody is losing out
So
anything.
they're not working without a contract.
Their current contract stays in place until a new contract is negotiated.
Yeah,
All right, I just want to, okay.
Can I ask one
appreciate
question, Ms. Ivy, too? Would you consider yourself fiscally prudent?
it. I'm sorry.
Fiscally prudent, would you consider yourself a fiscally prudent person? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what the board, I believe, is trying to achieve, right, with a lot of these negotiations with the Teamsters and the union. But also what we're trying to do with these draft budgets is we're tasked, right? We're tasked with trying to keep, costs under control. And we hear from a lot of our constituents that we're the highest, our sewer rates are one of the highest in the county. And a day doesn't pass me by thinking, and other board members, how can we control costs? And we're doing it in a fiscally prudent way while trying to increase our service, right? Increase the level of our service. And it's a difficult task. And I think we've invited you to apply for the board so you can see behind the curtain to see about, the many levers and moving parts, that we're trying to balance.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this though. I come from a Fortune 500 company
Mhm.
and with 7,000 employees that I was responsible for.
Mhm.
And I can tell you, you're gonna get what you pay for. And I had to go into every county and every state and do a salary review to make sure that we stayed competitive, that we got the cream of the cream, and that we got the people that could really work and perform at the standards of our company also. So there, I want you to really appreciate the employees and take care of them, because if you take the number one thing that you're taught in any supervisory or managerial course, the number one thing that you're taught is if you take care of the people, they'll take care of the work. And I'm telling you that my job was to walk through that building of 75 employees in downtown Los Angeles. And my boss told me, you listen to the drums. You listen to the drums. And I would walk through there and I would listen to the drums. And every once in a while, I'd see a little smoke, you know, and those were the people that I had to bring in and talk to try to see and put fires out, you know, and make everybody happy. Because it's just like they say about mama, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, you know?
I hear you, and I'd like to add, because your past it sounds very interesting and I respect it. The big difference that I see as a young director is you're talking about the private sector, we're dealing with the public sector now, and there's a lot of complications. I think we have done salary reviews. Matter of fact, we've spoken about them constantly here. We're not trying to do anything but bring on the best employees, compensate them fairly, but we have to be very careful, because I believe quickly costs spiral again, and then people come in the doors because we have to keep raising rates to meet our new operating expenses and future operating expenses. It's a difficult balance, as I'm finding out, dealing with public sector employees. I think private, and as you know, I think a little different. So, you know, please understand, as we take our time, we're doing it for the benefit of all of our constituents.
Well, that's all I can ask.
Yeah.
Well, one thing
I ask that you be very serious, and really is a lot of one life impacted is one life too many.
Yep.
Because I mean, you know, and really folks, all these people got is a job. It's a job, for God's sake.
Miss Ivy, I think your public comments probably would be a better fit with public comment before going into our closed session, where we're going to discuss progress there. We're still on the budget item, and while salaries are under operating expenses, I think that we should probably get.
I said what I had to say. Thank you for listening.
Okay. So we are done with our review of the draft budget. And so right now,
I have a couple more questions, actually.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, no, and they were just, and they're quite simple, as there's a lot to digest, as you can imagine, right? And of course, we're looking into the future. It's really hard to predict our future. You know, I look at some of our expenses again, increasing, and I know it's hard, but I could really believe in my heart that they're going to maybe increase at a greater rate. And I'm looking at our revenue, and I see that our revenue, it's increasing, could flatline. But my question, I guess, comes down to, Wendy, is these our contract agencies, and with the Shumash and the wastewater treatment plant, have they notified us that they intend to try to continually have our employees over there less often, because therefore, again, it costs them less? What's the future of us when we come from a revenue standpoint looking at the Shumash?
Well, it's based on what needs to be done over there.
Okay.
And we have had correspondence with Greg Lowe regarding training and getting our guys certified through the ITCSA, which is the Indian Bureau of Affairs agency that oversees certifications on tribal lands. So he asked, you know, how come my guys aren't spending more time over there? We want to get them certified. So they're on board with that.
And you understand that the reason they're spending less time there is our new chief plant operator felt like they didn't need to be there as much.
Yeah.
He had things under control. But yeah, that's a question. And
But I do think the tribe is probably interested in let them spend a little more time over there and get training. So there's a balance there.
I have begun contact. I heard back from Chairman Khan and from Sam Cohen, and we're going to arrange a meeting, and this can be an issue we talk about. Other committees that want to talk about related issues, it will just help us get a better feel for everything going on there.
Yeah, that's all I have. And I just trying to restate what I say is I think every meeting I bring it back up, I'm always concerned about our expenses increasing and our revenue flatlining because there are liabilities. And I hope that Horizon goes as planned. And I hope that more people hook up, and matter of fact, not just Horizon, but there's additional members of the community in areas that are not served, that they speak up, because that's fulfill part of our mission. But I think it's something we always have to remind ourselves is we have to be almost hawks, it seems like, on our expenses, because I certainly don't want to have to raise rates next year again. And I know we spoke about it in previous meetings that it's definitely on the table.
Well, there's a 5-year rate study that you guys approved that increases the rates 4.25% for the next 4 years.
No, I understand that. And I believe my recollection could be wrong, but we thought that maybe that was even undershooting. We weren't sure. Again, we're looking at, right? We're just looking at,
No, it's all based on projection and
but was the 5 rate study also, it was taken into account that we're going to have certain hookups, right? We were going to hit those targets for the hookups.
A lot of projections in there, of course. And so I think Wendy just makes a point that we do have a scheduled rate increase right now. What can happen is if our expenses get out of control, our projections are way off, that 5-year rate study gets re-looked at next year, and you've got to go back and do what I believe you're saying you don't want to do, which is make that 4.25% scheduled rate increase a 6%, reopen that whole thing.
Yeah.
That's what I recall from the discussion, that we might have to go in and change either lower or higher.
Yeah.
Right now, looking at the economy, it doesn't look like we're going to need to lower our rates just based on fuel costs, utility costs, everything seems to be.
And I guess that's my point. When I look at this, I know it's a draft, but I think as we dig into it more and we actually start approving stuff, it's going to be enlightening to go into more granular detail on this. But I think it's wonderful. Thank you for putting it together. I think it's.
This draft budget will come back to you in this form, basically, for adoption. That's our next, that's what our action is here today. These things are noticed. This is made public information. You're going to set a time and date for a hearing.
Do we have an estimate on insurance for earthquake yet?
No, they can't find a.
Can't find anybody that'll cover us.
Yeah.
There's got to be somebody.
No, there doesn't.
Lloyd's of London.
I've got 5 houses that I manage right now. One's worth $30 million. We can only get California Fair Plan, which is now covered for $3 million.
Not good.
Insurance carriers are not covering people in California. They're pulling out. 5 of the top insurers have totally
There's no
pulled out.
government program to cover this? I mean,
We could look into a government program for our government insurance, but I don't think there is a government insurance to cover a water district like this.
we should look at it because it would be disaster.
I literally have a house that I manage. There's a $30 million house that we can only get $3 million worth of coverage on.
No, to say director, this is what came up in meetings before, right? It came up is that if we had some event, we would not have enough cash in the reserves, right? To, to furnish.
No, but FEMA would kick in.
That's what I was just going to say. That,
FEMA would kick in.
That's our government insurance.
That's our government insurance.
It is, but I would hate to rely upon it, but that's what
Absolutely.
it is asterisk. So when we look at our budget and when, we present our budget for opinion for the public, that's why you heard me last meeting or 2 meetings before, make sure that people are aware, right? Just because it looks all rosy, that if you add up a lot of our liabilities and the unknown is that it could be very scary to think about what could happen. and all the people that could be affected, and sewage is nothing you want to see.
Right.
you know,
Us
spewed
being
everywhere.
a sewer
Right.
provider, we would qualify for FEMA almost immediately.
Yeah.
However,
You don't
when,
have to worry about that because you'll be too big to fail and the government will come in and rescue you.
Yeah.
Wendy,
I
how
don't call
long,
that fiscally prudent, so I'd like to leave plans.
Well,
when we
if our
did,
sewer pipes bust, so will the water pipes, and there's no water, there's no sewer around.
Right.
I mean, there's that lot too.
when we did apply for FEMA funds a few years back, I remember it as being a fairly lengthy process.
It wasn't lengthy. You had to have, everything documented. So you had to fill out the forms for staff time, for parts, for, the contractor to come and fix it. I mean, it was, well, I guess lengthy as in it took a while to, from start to finish.
That's what I'm talking about, until the check came. It seemed like that was over a period of several months. So whatever it is, we do
Yeah.
have to be prepared financially for the things we
Right.
don't know.
And also, once the budget is adopted,
Mhm.
The general manager can't go over
Yeah.
the total expenses,
Without approval.
without approval, and with those approvals, it will become, you know, if we see a problem that's
Yeah.
happening, then we bring back to the board to do budget adjustments.
Yeah.
And the board has to approve those.
Okay, so right now, then I'm looking for an approval of the draft budget. So that would be a motion.
Because I'm the only one on the committee.
And does that include setting the date and time certain for the public?
Well, that's just, it'll be June, the next board meeting is June 15th.
So do we actually need to take board action right now, that, or do we need to approve the draft budget?
You can if you want to, but you can just board consensus to bring it back to June for adoption.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all
That's what we need.
got our questions answered.
Yeah, no, I have one property. I've been canceled by 3 different insurance companies. They took the policy, kept it a year, canceled. Took the policy, canceled. Now we're on, that property is on California Fair Fine.
We've had a lot of mudslides, fires, blah, blah, yeah. Yeah.
Fire.
Out of all 16 of my properties, every single one of them have been canceled.
Wow. I only have one.
Can I just ask one other question? And there's a lot of different categories of insurance through here on this budget. And I know under the building, it would be the insurance on the building and stuff. But I just want to know, do we cover insurance on each of our board members?
No.
Well, there's
We have a board insurance.
yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant that we got our health insurance
No,
for
no,
here.
no.
No,
Oh,
no.
no,
There
You're
is
I'm
talking,
talking
board
about
insurance.
liability and making sure, because if you're on
Yes.
the board, there should be liability, okay.
Yes, there's a liability. I wouldn't be on the board without it.
Right, right. So I was gonna say,
Right,
that
it's a
would be one of the expenditures that you should make sure that you
Yeah,
took care of.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's one of the first things I check out before I get on the board.
yeah, I would.
okay, well, let's move on to informational items. Number 8, are there any informational items?
Did we approve or push or?
Well, I think we had consensus
We had
to bring
consensus
back
to
the
bring it
budget.
back.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so now we're gonna go into close.
Yeah, I'm just going to check with our
We have to ask
General
for.
public comment, but I'm still on informational items to see if our, okay, so there are no informational items. So now, this is the time that we can hear public comments on our closed session agenda.
I made all my comments.
Okay, I see none online. So with that, we can
I
move
will
in.
say that I really appreciate Van Pelt's participation in the budget. That was very good. You impressed me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ivy.
Okay, so let's go into closed session at 6:50. Anybody need to take a quick break? Yeah, I don't think either of us is gonna make our 7 o'clock, but
I still gotta go back and make the rest of the meeting.
mine may not still be done.